This was truly one of the most unique gaming experiences I have ever had. Felt like we were actually getting a peek into what the next generation of gaming is going to look like. From the visuals to some of the insane car physics and even just this fully living city, or what it feels like is a fully living city. What I'm talking about today is The Matrix Awakens, an Unreal Engine 5 experience which you could download for free right now on Xbox Series X or S and the PlayStation 5. And this video is sponsored by Epic Games. When they reached out and were like, hey, do you want to try our big next-gen open world experience and anyone who watches can just kind of download it for free if they want to? I was kind of like, yeah, no stressing over demonetized videos this month. So this experience actually opens in a pretty magical way that I think is going to be one of those video game moments that stays with me for a little while. The Matrix Awakens, of course, is not only an Unreal Engine 5 experience, but also a movie. So when things kick off with the actors kind of breaking down what's going on here, explaining a bit about the context, I didn't think much of it until I slowly started to realize, wait, those aren't actually the actors breaking down what's going on here, but a 3D generated model. That's just how good things are looking.
That it was important for me to ask people, how do we know what is real? In an industry where actors have tried to remain perpetually young, we wondered about digital faces that could become immortal.
Hi, I'm Carrie Ann Moss, and I played Trinity in the Matrix films.
How real these digital figures looked really did blow my mind at some points, but it felt like that was only just the appetizer on a full 4-course meal as you go to experience more. As from there, we're basically transported into what feels like your very own movie. You're entering into one of the stereotypical car chase scenes after watching some back and forth from the two main characters, and thankfully this is not the typical marketing BS, but it's actually just some full-on, self-aware, and kind of funny dialogue.
I needed some sexy action.
Who said?
The marketing people.
Marketing? I thought we were supposed to have total creative control.
Welcome to the Matrix.
And this is where almost that second reveal does come to fruition. The cinematic back and forth switches to actual gameplay you can control, and you start to realize, oh, that wasn't just some like super high quality cutscene. No, that's just how good this game actually looks. And at its core, it is a fairly simple car chase scene, but everything looks so unreal that you're just kind of sitting there in awe as you're watching the explosions or humans disappear in front of you. The Rambo sequence in particular is what was the best for me, between the weapon itself and the lighting around that, but then also those explosions and all of the destruction happening in the background. And although I would say the destruction, the explosions, the people are one half of this demo, a couple of times we also got some really nice panning shots of the city overall, but then you actually just go get to explore it. And this isn't like, oh, a few blocks here. This is a giant city with literally thousands of buildings, people, and cars all fluidly and dynamically moving around. Those intro shots aren't like some super pretty picture. That's just actually how good this looks. You can recreate that if you want to using the photo mode. To get a bit more concrete on the numbers, Epic described to me how there were 7,000 buildings in this city, 35,000 pedestrians being handled by the mass AI system, and it really did almost feel like this was kind of a living city that I was just in. I did a little time lapse at one moment. You could just see things are progressing without me having really any influence here. There's both a flying mode and a full-on photo mode, so you could explore this quite extensively, and there's even a bunch of different visual filters and changes you could make in the settings menu, which is also retro and Matrix inspired, which was another really nice touch. There's this Matrix filter you could turn off, and that's where this thing really comes together. It looks great with it on, but it does have that interesting tint. Definitely true to the Matrix, but if you want to be true to life, turning this off, things really start to look pretty phenomenal. And as you're exploring on foot, running around, you'll really start to notice some of the details here and how stunning some of these objects look. There's a wide variety of faces. This is using the MetaHuman creator, which had a super crazy video out in the past. This is really one of the first instances I've seen of it actually in use. All of these different extremely high quality created faces on a full open world of NPCs. Like I said before, there are literally 35,000 NPCs running around here. I messed around for a bit trying to get the perfect angle, so I was like, alright, if I show someone this on my phone, would they actually be able to tell if this was fake? Because there's definitely some segments while you're playing this game when you get the lighting and the angle positioning just right that it looks real. Like you wouldn't actually be able to distinguish it at a glance if this was a real or fake photo. Either that or I'm just extremely gullible. But then comes the vehicles, and this too to was a pretty special part, probably my favorite part of the demo overall. All great open world experiences need some good driving and absolutely smashing into everything you see. The Matrix Awakens has that, and it is pretty memorable. There are over 40,000 different cars doing their own thing in the background, as well as a wide variety that you could find on the side of the streets and pick up to drive around yourself. And the vehicles have a super detailed destruction system, so depending on what you hit and how you hit it, all different kinds of things can happen. Whether it be some of the windows being smashed in, dents on the car itself, bumpers falling off the car just being unrecognizable, cracks in specific parts of the front or rear windshield. During those epic car flips you saw during the intro sequence of this, you can recreate that messing around with the physics in this city, intentionally, or as I did it many times accidentally, as I just created an absolute mosh pit of cars at intersections. Yeah, there were many multi-car pileups in the filming of this video. And then you have that more analytical moment where you get out of the car after maybe causing a bit of an accident, and you can see a lot of these vehicles are actually destroyed in different ways. All of the vehicles don't have the same destruction system, but will actually break differently depending on their design. This is definitely one of the most detailed destruction systems I have experienced in an open world personally. One of the other really cool parts about this is it does give you a look at the technical side of this demo to some degree. Right at the start, you actually have a bunch of toggles you can mess around with to see the rendering and procedural generation that is going on to make all of this possible, to actually experience this open world with that much detail, or even just the day-night cycle and seeing how things are generated in the background as you can freely toggle these settings on and off. It was a really nice touch, and it was a nice intro to show, yeah, there's a lot of crazy tech being worked on and actually being implemented here. And once in game, you can actually get even a bit of a different detailed look at this, as you could look at some of these systems on the fly with some of these settings available in menu. I can imagine there's some people that are going to try this demo and really nerd out over some of these features and seeing how things work a bit on the back end. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, all right, this is all cool, but why should I really care about this? And one of the reasons is what I kind of opened this video with, as mentioning that this is almost a look into the future of games. This experience is illustrating the future of interactive entertainment and even just storytelling in general. There are tons of games out there that use Unreal Engine. There's a ton on the way that are using Unreal Engine 5. And it feels like this demo is showcasing the start of what could be a bit of a change up in what we actually come to expect in video games. What is actually possible, and especially what is possible on this scale, using the technologies like procedural generation to get all of this functionally working. You can totally visualize how some of these components will be taken and even expanded upon with different experiences and more full-fledged experiences in the future. And at least for me personally, it really does feel like this was one of the first more concrete looks at what the next generation of gaming is actually going to look and feel like. And I think that feel like was a big part of this demo for me, which makes it all the better that it's free and you could just download this if you want to. Trying to hit top speed in a random car while driving on the river or the coast with the sun in my eyes, then causing some catastrophic pile up or flipping a car, lifting cars above me, having cars go flying above me. It was just wild. Or even just sometimes walking down the streets and looking at all the different people, what they're wearing, looking at the different vehicles, looking at how the light hits things in a certain way. One of the details I noticed was, as you're exploring around the city, noticing what lights are on or off in some of the buildings, which is such a small but realistic touch if you've actually been in a city. Sometimes you're going through at nighttime and you see somebody's light on in the office building on the 20th floor and you're like, yeah, sucks to be that dude right now. This overall was a super memorable experience for me, not only based off those visuals. Again, that intro sequence is going to stick with me for a while now, but the physics this is bringing to the table gets me really excited to see what other games can do with that technology. Not to mention that this was actually my first experience on a next-gen console. I specifically bought an Xbox Series X to experience this game, and not only that, I bought a 4K capture card so I could record this video in 4K so all of you watching can also experience this in its full glory. But videos like this are definitely not doing a demo like this justice. I feel like I gave away some of the big spoilers or reveal moments, at least as they impacted me, but there's still a lot of really cool stuff to experience here. Overall, hopefully you guys found this one informative. Hopefully you found this interesting. I feel like for me, more so than anything else, this gets me excited for what the future holds, but it also just is an interesting observation to see how things are progressing as they are progressing. With that said, I thank you all again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.